Hey folks, welcome to my little tour of my hydroponic setup for vegetables, which I just started. Well, I shouldn't say I just started. I started about a month and a half ago now from seeds. So I picked up this Vivosun tent off Amazon for $120. It's a 4 foot by 2 foot tent. I decided to go with kind of the long and narrow route just because it's a little easier to get in the back of the tent. If you don't have a tent with a back door, it can be a pain if you're trying to work on plants or trim or transplant, that kind of stuff. I got a Mars Hydro 300 watt light from Amazon. It's about $70, I think. And then the other equipment other than the buckets are a air pump with 4 outlets and a timer for your cycling your lights on and off. The only nutrients I'm really using for the vegetables are the General Hydroponics Maxi series, which I've had really good luck with and are really inexpensive when you work it out. It's pretty much just a teaspoon per gallon of either of them. The green one I obviously use for the lettuce and the greens. And I do use it to start the tomatoes, but then I switch it over to the Maxi Bloom as the primary nutrient for the tomatoes and what I'll be using for the peppers. So I got tomatoes in the middle here, and you can see that they're just starting to get ready to flower. Over here we have some bib lettuce, some mesclun. I have a tomato plant that needs to be moved because it's getting quite big, and a few different kinds of lettuce in here. And then over here I got a nice bib lettuce and some basil and a pepper plant. And these are all done doing deep water culture, or DWC. If you look it up, you'll find it. And the thing I do like about this is I haven't run into any bugs or any kind of external factors that I often find with soil. So you can see that the plants are pretty healthy by the root structure and that they're nice and white. So it's a pretty good indication to tell you how your roots are doing. You can tell that they've kind of intertwined a little bit, so it may be tricky for me to get my tomato plant out, but overall all the roots look really healthy. And you're going to have similar big root ball at the bottom of the buckets for the tomato plant. Inside these little neck cups, so this container was from Home Depot. I think it's about 2 feet, well obviously 2 feet deep by about a foot high, and I think 16 inches this way, so 2 feet by 16 inches by about a foot. And took a circular drill bit and cut the holes out and put my little net pots in with these inert pebbles. And I also use rock wool to get the seed started. So there is a little rock wool down underneath the top level of that plant, and then I fill it all in around with the inert pebbles. And that's probably when the plant gets about that high and it has a little bit of roots coming out the bottom is when you can move them over. But other than that, I have a fan that just kind of moves air around inside that helps just the plants develop some strength, and their branches become a little healthier. And overall this has been a pretty fun and problem-free experience up till now. The one thing you can run into is some root rot, which I've had, but you can mitigate with a bottle of water, 1 to 10 mixed water and hydrogen peroxide. So hydrogen peroxide is really the same elements as water, so you're not hurting the plants in any way. So you can spray it right on the root. If you see that your rock wool, you see some green algae start up around the root, you can spray it right on the top of the root. And you can also just open up your bin and pour a mixture into the bin, and you'll find your any type of algae issues will go away. Right here I think you can see there's a little bit of green showing through on this pepper plant. That's partly because there's not enough pebbles to cover the light. When I transplant it, there'll be more pebbles, but that's usually why you're going to get algae. It's just from light penetrating. So some people will paint the tops. I tried that. I ended up with a lot of paint flick pieces of paint that I just did not want in my reservoir, so I tried to do it with some duct tape on this one. But overall, I mean, you saw the root structure there. Once the top starts to foliate, there's really not a lot of room for the light to get through this yellow plastic top. But yeah, it's been pretty fun. So I'm looking forward to hopefully being able to eat some of these tomato plants when they flower here. Um, and overall, it's been a pretty inexpensive operation to get going, other than the tent, which you don't need, and the light, which I would recommend. You can go with some cheaper options. Like I've got some cheaper Costco lights, but they really just don't have the same output. I didn't get the results I got with this one, and this is a fairly inexpensive small LED. It has a built-in fan on the top to keep the temperature down, but overall, I've never noticed this thing getting really hot at all. My basement's about around 19 degrees, and you do kind of want a consistent temperature when you're doing this kind of stuff. The only other thing that I've read is you don't really. Although mine are somewhat sitting on the concrete, I do have some cardboard and then the tray, but ideally you'd want a couple pieces of wood or maybe some insulation just to put underneath your buckets so that they're not directly touching the concrete, because it can really bring down the temperature for your water, and that can affect your growth. But anyways, this is the little hydroponics 2x4 grow tent that I've been working on and pretty happy with it, and happy to show you guys, so enjoy.